Hey, what's up? How y'all doing? Salgever's back here once again, and today I just wanted to go over my feelings on the ending of Rebirth and some theories about what we could probably expect moving forward. And these are like all just my own theories, like everyone else's theories. Yours are valid. You have different opinions than me. That's fine. I'm just speculating on where things are going and trying to connect it with the OG as much as possible, and to how it would fit and be more, I say, cohesive, I guess. So how all this stuff's going to line up. And with that, I mean, I got some stuff on my Twitter here where I've already posted a lot of those thoughts, but I figured I'd go over them and just like make a video about it and explain them as much in depth as I can. But yeah, without further ado, let's just dive right in. Firstly, I guess I want to talk about mostly about the ending, is like the Aerith scene. And I know a lot of people probably didn't enjoy it because they felt that the emotional impact wasn't there because all the flashes and everything going on, and you didn't really get to fully see it, and Cloud didn't get his speech and all that. But I don't even consider this like the Aerith death scene. I consider it the Cloud trauma scene. Everyone went through their trials in the Temple of the Ancients, and they experienced their trauma all over again. And Aerith had that speech afterwards, how the past is the past. That stuff that happened to you can't change that, but you should still strive to try for a better future and never give up on trying to make a better future, no matter what happened to you. And it's like about dealing with your trauma. And Cloud had his little trial, but it was interrupted by Sephiroth. He did not get to deal with that trauma. He was being traumatized. So that like ties into the trauma scene. So like we had just seen plenty of death, like because of those trials. And like we saw Kate Sith, well, this other body comes out right after, but there's scenes where people are dying and bad things are happening to them, like Sen getting stabbed. So we like had plenty of that towards the end of Rebirth, so I'm not too upset about not seeing the full death scene yet. And that's like, yeah, like people say like it's kind of took the weight away, but that would have kind of took the weight away, like after experiencing all that death. Like even though it happened in the past, like it was still emotional. And just like going right to that wouldn't have felt as impactful already. So I like how they focused on Cloud's trauma. He's the only one who didn't get through that trauma, and he doesn't know how to deal with it. So part of it's like there's that white light like surrounding Aerith's body, and like white whispers are there, and it's kind of like it's pillowing Cloud, like shielding him from that trauma, because Aerith probably knows like it's gonna make him snap, and Sephiroth wants him to snap. And it's like, and like we've all said before, I'm not the only one who said this, it's just a game of like 4D chess or whatever between Sephiroth and Aerith. And Sephiroth played his hand killing her and trying to break Cloud, and then this is like Aerith's like counter to that. So so like right now it's like focused on Cloud's trauma. That's like what the end of Rebirth focuses on more than her death. But I do believe in part 3 we are going to get that full-on death scene. And yeah, basically we're gonna get that full-on death scene, like probably like nearly 1-to-1 with OG, maybe even more expanded than that. But I think that is going to happen around Cloud's complete breaking point, which is before he hands the black materia to Sephiroth. Like when they go to the Whirlwind Maze, and you go in that little section that's like an illusion Nibelheim, and Sephiroth's like, you were never in Nibelheim, Cloud. Like, you're not even the real Cloud. You were constructed in Hojo's lab. You're a fake. I think he's gonna stack Aerith's, showing him how the death actually played out on top of that. And that is just going to be completely heartbreaking, and you know you're gonna see Cloud like completely break down. So I think that that is going to be awesome. I think it's brilliant what they did with focusing on Cloud's trauma now, and then after they're going to you know, do that scene in the whirlwind maze, and it's going to be impactful. So that is all well and good. I believe, you know, we'll get the speech from Cloud, we'll get, you know, seeing like, you know, Aerith getting stabbed through, all the blood, and Cloud crying and what he's really saying, which is, you know, like I said, probably very close to the speech from OG. And we'll get the water burial, and you know, there's like a time lapse in there when they're just like sitting, you know, at the edge of the water in the Forgotten Capital, like before, you know, they take off, and like before that, they, yeah, like I said, there's just like a big time lapse there. So I'm sure we're gonna get all that. Like, so I have no issue with the Aerith death, especially for that reason, because we are eventually going to see it. And I know some people will be like, well, that's going to be less impactful. Well, let me put it this way: we've seen Alfalna die. We know she's been dead. We saw it in Elmira's flashback, and we saw like a more expanded version of it in the trials with Aerith. And I don't know about you all, but that broke me. So like, I thought that was, you know, really sad, really emotional. And even knowing that she died and that it had already happened, we've already seen part of that scene, seeing the whole thing and getting all the context, it hit harder than I could have ever imagined. So when you're walking around with like little girl Aerith like crying, asking for help, like the scene was just amazing. They stuck the landing, they hit the execution. So I don't really have a problem with her scene being postponed to you know, something like before Cloud gives Sephiroth the black materia. So Cloud is going to reach that full-on breaking point. And also to that, I feel like with the ending with like Zack and Aerith appearing at the edge of creation to fight Sephiroth, like you have to understand that that area is in Cloud's headspace. So Zack and Aerith's consciousness gets tied to Cloud at some point. I don't know if Aerith did that at the end of Remake, if she did it when she first met Cloud, if she tied Zack to him when she was praying and it shows Zack, like, you know, the barrier whispers disperse, or, you know, that's what she's doing at the end of Remake. I don't know. I don't know exactly when they are tethered to his consciousness, but they are there in Advent Children, you know, in that white space. That is Cloud's consciousness that they are a part of, and that's where they reside, and that's how they keep their individuality and, you know, stay Zack and stay Aerith, or else they would just what's the word I'm looking for? They would just disperse or integrate, just become one with the life stream, and they would lose their individuality. So to keep their individuality, they tether themselves to Cloud, kind of like Sephiroth does the same in like Advent Children. And you know, he needs, like, Cloud's memories is a big part of, you know, his comeback, of like being able to come back. It's not just the Genova and like a Kadaj husk to use as like his, you know, to like foil over. It's also Cloud's memory. So and Sephiroth is tied to Cloud's, not only his subconscious, but his very being right now, because he is with Cloud on a cellular level. Like, he's inside him. No jokes intended for that, no sexual innuendos, but yeah, Sephiroth is inside of Cloud on a cellular level, and he's like, you know, he's been injected with S cells, and he is the perfect S cell receiver. Like all the other ones with S cells, they turn into black robes. Cloud does not. Just as other soldiers degraded, or like they didn't take to the Genova, Sephiroth was injected with Genova cells in his womb, and that was like the perfect way to create that perfect, at the time they thought ancient soldier, but really a Genova alien soldier. But so he's like the perfect soldier, and Cloud is the perfect soldier as well, but like instead of Genova cells with him, it's S cells. And he's probably got Genova cells too. I can't really remember, but as far as I remember, I don't remember hearing anything about Genova cells with Cloud, just the S cells. But I mean, even like you know, they're still there. Like the S cells are still there. Or I mean the Genova cells are in his, or like within S cells, because Sephiroth has Genova in him. So yeah, so I can go over it deeper in my Twitter when we get into this, because you know, obviously the reason I have this up is because I forget things on the spot. I'm not very good at like compiling all my thoughts and writing scripts and reading from scripts. So I'm doing all this off the cuff, unedited. So, yeah, let me just get into some of this here, and like, because this is gonna go into where I think part 3 is leaning towards, you know, the territory it's going into, and a lot of this stuff would connect to OG surprisingly more than you would think. So, let's just check this out. I got the stuff about, yeah, Aerith's Destiny. Alright, I guess I should get this out of the way first, just so those who don't know. I am not on board with the whole sequel theory, that this is a sequel, and it's like Advent Children Sephiroth traveling to the past or something. You gotta understand, this Sephiroth in OG right now, like, he's omnipresent, like timeless, like he even if he has access to the Advent Children thoughts right now, like he knows things about Advent Children or something, and he knows what happens like right now in this moment, it doesn't mean that Advent Children will not happen. Because if he's like has all this knowledge in the live stream, following the live stream, he essentially knows everything, has like unlimited knowledge, he's like across space-time, he like knows everything in this moment. So and you'd be like, so if he knows Advent Children, then like how does that still happen? Easy. And on the way to a smile, it's revealed that Sephiroth gives up all his memories to reinforce Meteor against Holy in the live stream, because, you know, Meteor's losing and he's trying, you know, he's giving it his all basically. So he gives up all his memories, all his knowledge that he's, you know, gained up to that point, all to defeat Holy in the live stream. And I mean, why not? Because once you win, you're gonna get all that stuff back and more. So that's why he does that. So even if he knows everything right now, it's still going to lead to that, because he's going to lose his memories. But there's also this quote from Kitase, and I know a lot of people like to twist the term links up and like try to define it in their own way, like try to lead it towards their own bias or narrative to fit their theory. And I can't say I'm any different, but I mean, I feel like, I mean, I'm sure they all feel like, oh, this confirms my theory or your theory or whatever. But like just the way it's worded, like even if you're not looking at the term links up, like it still looks like he's saying that this is not a sequel to Advent Children, and he's trying to say it without like outright saying it. But this is as close as we are going to get to that, I feel like, until, you know, the hat's off and the project's done, and there you go. But let's see here. Okay, so it says, we are finally going to link up with Advent Children. That is going to be part of canon. Kitase confirms the overall storyline. The developments will not go wildly out in the way that will not add up to Advent Children in the end. So you can debate the term links up. There you go. It says add up as well. And it says will not go wildly out of the way that will not lead up to Advent Children in the end. I don't know how else you interpret that, but let's keep going. I don't think anyone wanted that. We all wanted a actual remake and not a sequel. Yes, maybe some people feel differently now, but when this was first announced, and before that, when everyone was begging for this game to be remade, that is the general consensus, is that everyone just wanted a remake. So, that's not what we're looking to create here, but to make sure it doesn't become stale and people know exactly where it's going, that it doesn't just follow the original word for word. We add in extra elements which add a little bit of doubt. Getting the right balance of that is so key. Ultimately, we're not trying to change Final Fantasy VII story into something really different. You get that? I don't know about y'all, but I would consider a sequel really different. The overall balance wouldn't really allow for that anyway. And they have these things in there to add doubt and, you know, create mystery and get us talking and theorizing. But like, this is like trying to like lead us towards theorizing the right things and not wasting our time on like other theories. And I'm not saying the sequel theory is a waste of time. I think it's like, besides, oh, this is a reimagining, the sequel theory is like the next biggest, like, you know, theory out there. So but like, yeah, like this is straight up telling me like this, like the explanation of it. He doesn't just say link up and adds up, he goes on to explain what that means and defines it. So obviously it's not a one-to-one with OG. Obviously there's new stuff, there's expanded stuff, there's tie-ins with the compilation. They're acknowledging the past of the compilation, setting up for the compilation's future that happens after OG7. And like, you know, the lore that was introduced in that compilation is now part of the OG. And original Final Fantasy VII couldn't do this stuff. It was made before any of the compilation. It was made before the compilation was even considered a thought. So they added, you know, the retcons, the additional lore that was introduced. Like, none of that stuff is present in the original Final Fantasy VII. The characters introduced in the compilation are not present in Final Fantasy VII. It's very disconnected. I consider the original Final Fantasy VII its own continuity. And then you have, you know, the compilation itself, which I consider its own continuity. So I feel like the re-trilogy, 7 re-trilogy, is just the compilation's version of the events from the original Final Fantasy VII, where all that stuff is tied in and it all flows together cohesively, and it's not like off-putting. Like, I'm not saying it's going to segue directly into Advent Children, but like, it will a lot better than the OG would, and it's going to enhance that experience of watching Advent Children. It's going to make you understand more things that you maybe wouldn't have without this game. Like, I've already gained more appreciation for Advent Children since playing these games, like where like light bulbs go off, where things just connect and you're like, oh, so this is how this happens and this is what, you know, this is connected to. It's just making a more cohesive story, so you can experience like from before Crisis all the way to Dirge of Cerberus, and it's, you know, all gonna make sense. And yeah, like I said, cohesiveness. But yeah, anyway, just wanted to get that out of the way. Oh, and here's another little tidbit. Like, Toriyama said that for the remake project, they aim to elaborate the good parts in OG while creating a new scheme mechanism for things they think need to be improved in OG. However, they'll make sure the new elements will not ruin the OG story and it will stay true to the OG series. And like, so far in Remake and Rebirth, like, I know like the sequel theory is strong, but everyone's like focusing on what's different instead of what's the same. And like, all these things that are different from the OG, has any of it stopped any of the OG events from taking place? Has like anything that's happened done that? Because everything that's happened, even the different stuff, has led into those OG events happening, shaping them to happen instead of like erasing them. And people have expected, oh, this is gonna go off the rails, that's gonna go off the rails, like, oh, Aerith's gonna live and it's completely off the rails. Like, none of that happened. And I'm sure they're gonna say, wait for it, but I mean, I don't know what they're expecting. I don't know if they're expecting like in the last 10 minutes of part 3, they're gonna be like, oh, aha, gotcha, it's actually a sequel. And that would be really stupid at this point. So I mean, not to say that any of the people who believe the sequel theory or craft theories around it are stupid. I'm just saying, like, that would be poor execution. And of course, that is my opinion. I mean, there's people who think making it a reimagining and introducing all these new things without it having some major payoff, like, oh, it's a sequel, is bad, or, you know, is bad writing. So, you know, we all have our own bias towards what we think is good and what we even think good execution is, but that's just the way I personally feel about it. But moving on. Oh yeah, I just want to read this too. Look at this. The internet is wild. If somebody told me in 2014 that we would get a faithful remake of FF7 on modern consoles that followed the original story and that people would be disappointed that it was faithful to the OG, I would have said they were insane. And that's something that's crazy to me. I mean, I know, like I said, like all these differences, like people focus on, oh, if these differences don't equal some payoff that's as big as it being a sequel, then it's trash. And like before this was even announced, like everyone wanted a faithful remake. So it's just insane. But you know, they're like, you know, think that is a greater approach. I don't. I think it'd be a scumbag move to, you know, the promise has been made, all that stuff with the trailer and FF7 remake, the crowd goes wild, and then hey, you're not actually getting a remake, it's a sequel. That would just be a real scumbag move, and I do not think the developers would do that. Like I refuse to believe that they would do something scummy like that. And like other people might be like, oh well, they were just trying to surprise us. Still a scummy move. If they announced it was like FF7 2 or something at the first start, I would have been hyped because I would have had the right expectations, and so would have everyone else. Like, you go in with expectations, like, oh, this is a sequel, okay, let's see what they do with it. And then, you know, but like I get it, they think it's like some surprise because like it would spoil it because it's like OG events, and you know, if you knew it was a sequel and you're doing the OG events, like big spoiler. But I still, like I said, don't think the developers would be that scummy. So moving on. All right, yeah, this is where, you know, I was just talking about this. Yeah, Sephiroth can know everything, even the future, and still lead in AC because he sacrifices his memories and knowledge to reinforce Meteor against Holy in the live stream to the point he even forgets his own appearance. So yeah, like this man even forgets his own appearance. That's why Kadaj, Laz, and Yazoo are a thing. They're like his remnants, like 3 different sides of his personality. He can't even remember what he looks like. That's how much his memory gets fucked. So I'm like, this Sephiroth who, yeah, regained himself, but Cloud beat him again. You're telling me this weaker guy, like, went back in time, this weaker version of Sephiroth. I'm like, OG Sephiroth is the most OP version. You know, he's got all the, you know, he says the knowledge of the ancients and everything before and after them. Like, this man knows everything, and in Rebirth, it's like his knowledge like goes across space-time. He's got access to, you know, it's just crazy shit. So this is like, he's not a literal god yet, but he's close enough. Like, I would consider him a demigod, because I don't know. I mean, the Gi couldn't join the live stream because you know, they were from another planet and they don't accept Jenova either. So Jenova isn't accepted into the live stream as well. So maybe Sephiroth isn't accepted in there because he's got Jenova in him, and you know, he can just travel the live stream and still like somehow interact with it and gain all the knowledge he needs without getting dispersed into the, you know, the one whole big live stream and forgetting who he is. So yeah, but he's like at his most OP, and he's supposed to be like, this Sephiroth is supposed to be all-knowing, all that stuff. And it's not only till after he reinforces his you know, memories and his knowledge to reinforce Meteor that he loses all that. So yeah, the Sephiroth in the OG, or during these OG events in the re-trilogy, he's supposed to be the strongest version of Sephiroth we've encountered ever. So that's not weird. You know, yeah, this is from this is from like, I've been saying this since I first saw this at the end of Remake. Like, I've always brought this up. Like, is it our destiny to defy destiny? That's like an interesting thing to like have Red say before you walk through that portal. And I'm like, people are like, oh, like, you know, they were all predicting, like, not everyone, but a large chunk of people, that, oh, the game's completely off the rails, OG events aren't going to happen anymore. And it turned out that defying our destiny was our destiny, because we still are, like, you know, having those OG events happen. And like, the thing about Rebirth as well is like, now we have the White Whispers introduced along with the Black Whispers. Like, I can't say much about the Whispers because, yeah, like in the remake part 1, it seems like they were mostly, well, I wouldn't say mostly, but they were definitely influenced by Sephiroth. Maybe they all weren't. Maybe at times it was not Sephiroth influencing them, and other times it was. But it's clear he, you know, once he absorbs them at the end, that's when he really takes hold of the Whispers. But like, now we have 2 Whispers, so we have 2 sides fighting. But before that, like you can just consider our party the White Whispers before that. So like, before they go through this portal, they go through our destiny to like defy destiny. So the White and Black Whispers are literally the colors of chess pawns. I'll just put it that way. Aerith and Sephiroth playing 4D chess here. And destiny is not one or the other. It is the outcome of the struggle between light versus dark, good versus evil. So like, whatever the outcome of that battle is fate or destiny. So I mean, that pretty much is like the main explanation I can give. But let me just think of like another way to put this. Like, yeah, the whole chess game, like, this battle between the 2 is what shapes the OG events. If the Black Whispers had it completely their way, then Advent Children would not happen. If the White Whispers completely had it their way, Advent Children would not happen. It's the battle between the 2 that makes Advent Children happen. Like, Sephiroth does something and then Aerith counters it. Sephiroth does another thing, Aerith counters it. And it just, like, you know, they're both like, you know, trying to win this game of chess, and whoever wins that game that's fate. That's like, the victor is the one who decides history, pretty much, you know what I mean? So that's how, like, that's all going, and that is very Final Fantasy, the whole light versus dark stuff. I really enjoy it now. I wasn't the biggest fan of the Whispers, but the more I learn about them, the more interesting they become. I wouldn't say I'm completely in love with them, but like, I do like the light versus dark aspect. And like, you know, I wasn't a fan of like Barrett being revived by the Whispers after he gets stabbed in like Shinra's office. Like, but then I thought, like, you know, maybe that Whisper is like somebody, like maybe that Whisper is Jesse or something, or maybe it's, you know, Biggs, like, or Wedge, or you know, like, and they just saved, like, you know, there's ways they could spin it to make me enjoy that scene. But like, the more I do see about the Whispers, the less bothered I am about them. And when I played Rebirth, like, the Whispers didn't really bother me at all, so I wasn't really bothered by them at all in Rebirth. In Remake, I was like, oh, this is, you know, this is different. Like, but like, the way I see it is, it's like seeing the behind the scenes, like, you know, like showcasing that behind the scenes struggle between, you know, you can either call it the planet versus Genova or Aerith versus Sephiroth, but we are seeing that battle at the forefront. So like, we're seeing some like behind the scenes stuff of like what's going on during the events. So that to me is really cool. Moving on. Good God, look, back in 2021, I joked about, you know, when Zach finds out he was the dream he was embracing. And like, this was mostly a joke tweet, but like, I was not completely, because like, I know of the connection between FF7 and FF10. Kitase has said that, like, you know, Shinra, like Shinra's ancestors, the Shinra in 10-2, the like little kid in the airship, his ancestors like came to Spira from another planet, and it's hinted that it's, you know, it's heavily implied that it is Gaia. And the far plane and the life stream are pretty much the exact same thing. So the far plane has like the unsent, like Orin, like he never got sent after, like, you know, he died, so he's like a fiend kind of. And he can just walk around the earth still, even though he's a dead dude. And well, I shouldn't say the earth, Spira. But then we have Titus, who was a dream of the faith. And I mean, I'm not saying they are going to pull this stuff in like the re-trilogy, where Zack is like some dream walking around in physicality in like the physical world. But I'm saying that that actually is a possibility. I don't think they will, because if they're adhering to OG events and they say that they don't want it to be wildly different, I think it's going to stay spiritual, and it's probably more tied to Cloud's subconscious, or maybe even Aerith's subconscious. You know, something like that. But I'm just putting it out there that if they really wanted to go that crazy, they could, because the lore is there. If they really wanted to say, hey, Zack is in our world and he's gonna battle with us in the actual physical world, they could do some crazy stuff like that. Do I think they're going to? No. But just saying, if it does happen, don't be surprised. But I mean, I would not enjoy that personally, but I mean, maybe some of you guys would. I wouldn't. But I really don't think they're going to do it, because like I said, they are going to adhere to the OG story. So if they do that, then it's really hard for me to believe that they're gonna put Zack in there. And like Zack and Aerith, and like they were in Cloud's headspace, their consciousnesses are like tied to Cloud, like I said before earlier in the video, so it's not weird for them to show up like within Cloud's consciousness or subconsciousness, wherever the edge of creation is. But it is in Cloud's mind. That's where you battle Sephiroth at the end of OG and like rid yourself of him. And it's more of a mental battle than a physical one that's taking place there. It's basically Sephiroth trying to take control of Cloud's mind. And that leads me into another thing in the Northern Crater, like the Whirlwind Maze during that Nibelheim scene. Like, I think there is going to be a scene where they're at the edge of creation and Sephiroth actually beats Cloud, and he probably blocks out Aerith and Zack's consciousness from helping him at the very least, or he even separates them for a while, possibly even until he defeats Sephiroth at the very end of the remake trilogy. Like, my guess is Sephiroth like possibly cuts them out, or maybe even just Zack. It's possible it's even just Zack. I'm not sure, because Aerith, I think, does have a hand in helping Tifa piece back Cloud together in the live stream. Not like directly, but like she makes it so they don't get Mako poisoning while they're in the live stream, and like she can enter Cloud's subconscious world. That's, you know, where they piece them back together. So there is that. So maybe after like Meteor is summoned and Cloud falls back in the live stream, he reconnects with them. Or it could be that after Cloud defeats Sephiroth in his head at the very end of the re-trilogy, that he gets reconnected with Aerith and Zack within his consciousness, and they, you know, stay with him as like guardian angels, and we see them in his consciousness throughout Advent Children, you know, basically like helping him out like mentally, you know, move forward and do the right thing, and, you know, just like man up, wake up, and do what you got to do, beat Sephiroth. Like, you know, they were spurring him on and everything, and like helping him move forward. So yeah, like it wasn't weird that they were in Cloud's headspace. That like wasn't weird at all. But yeah, I think like Sephiroth is going to win that battle in the Edge of Creation, like during the Whirlwind Maze. like, and that's going to completely signify Cloud's breakdown. And then at the end of the game, when he defeats him, that signifies like himself freeing himself of Sephiroth's like influence or connection to his consciousness, because an advent children like Sephiroth isn't like talking in Cloud's head and like manipulating him. He like, you know, the best he does is talk to Cloud after he gets like foils himself over Kadaj's body, but he does need Cloud's memory of him to make it all work. So that's to be taken into consideration. But after he's defeated at the end of the OG game, he's like within that headspace, like he's not like, you know, like be like able to manipulate Cloud the way he has been thus far. So that like signifies Cloud freeing himself of that influence and, you know, of like Sephiroth's manipulation, and just from his, I wouldn't say his being, because I mean, I don't think he can just delete the S cells within his body, because like the cells are like, that's like a part of his actual being now. But you know, just some food for thought, but I do think yeah, Sephiroth's gonna like, you know, show him the Aerithang scene, like how it really happened, tell him, you know, you're a puppet, you're a fake, you're not the real Cloud, you made in a lab somewhere, just another experiment, you're, you know, Sephiroth copy or whatever, you're a clone of me. Not like, you know, what I mean by clone, not like a literal, you look exactly like him, but just, that's what they called them in the OG, was clones, but they're more so copies. Yeah, that's just gonna lead to his breaking point. Sephiroth is then gonna be shown in the Edge of Creation and take Cloud, you know, like defeat him in that moment, and that's gonna signify when Cloud fully snaps, and, you know, before he gives the black materia to Sephiroth, and he's like fully under his control, being manipulated, floating around and shit. So yeah, that's where I see that going. Moving on. Okay, and I might as well talk about this, I guess. I mean, it kind of ties into the S-Cell stuff I was talking about. So I'm like, who is Sephiroth at the Edge of Creation, you ask? Why does he have to curb the impulse? What are their strong bonds? So it's like said that Sephiroth and Cloud have a strong bond with each other, and people ask, well, what's this strong bond? Because you know, they don't really know each other like that. Like, why does Sephiroth have such a personal bond with Cloud? Is it because he's advent children Sephiroth and he, like, you know, has known Cloud for years? Like, I think it's more like it's the S cells, it's on a cellular level, that's their strong bond. And like, Cloud is the only successful S cell experiment, and like, I go further into like detail with this. Like, let's see here. May as well go open up the whole tab. So yeah, Sephiroth has Genova cells. He had Genova cells infused into the womb of Lucrezia, and this was the way to make the perfect soldier, apparently, because Sephiroth was like the biggest success. They were trying to create a soldier with powers of the Cetra, but really, like, Genova was not a Cetra, unlike they thought. It's an alien. And like, Sephiroth is the one that didn't degrade. He you know, he was just the perfect soldier all around, like perfect experiment, exactly what they wanted, other than the fact that Genova wasn't an ancient, it was an alien. And Cloud has Sephiroth cells. The other ones that get injected with Sephiroth cells get a number tattooed on them and get the robes put on them, and they become like zombies, you know, muttering, you know, basically like, oh, like muttering stuff that Sephiroth's commanding them to do, like, oh, reunion, black materia, stuff like that. And like Roche, like, he gets injected and like he turns into a robed guy very quickly. So that just goes to show you right there that, like, you know, Cloud is something different because he's been injected with him for a while and he hasn't turned into one of those yet. So, but he thinks he is going to. Like Dr. Sheeran is like, I can only, you know, compare this to degradation, so maybe it's degradation, but there's something else in the blood I can't identify. That's because it's not degradation. It's S cells, and like, you know, they're, you know, part of Hojo's reunion theory where they're all gonna, you know, they either got pieces of like physical Genova that was ripped out of the tank that they're walking their way over to, you know, the northern crater to reunite with like Genova, and it's even probably the cells within inside of them as well, and other creatures that have the Genova cells. We got the monsters trying to fuse with them now who have Genova cells, like a little mini reunion kind of thing. Like they're like, you know, just like all the Genova cells are trying to combine and everything. So that's all going on as well. And like yeah, Cloud does not turn into those black robe guys. Like Hojo considers Cloud a failure, but he's actually like the perfect Sephiroth copy, because just like Sephiroth was the, you know, the perfect Genova experiment, perfect soldier, Cloud is the perfect Sephiroth copy. So like he took the S cells and he didn't turn into that. He's still able to be like manipulated by Sephiroth. He's still like, you know, Sephiroth's like an actual part of him, and that's how he gets into his mind, his consciousness and all that, and like how it's easier for Sephiroth to like manipulate him and things like that. But it's not to like the level of the other ones where like he can literally like foil himself over their bodies and like, you know, do that kind of shit. So in that sense, he's like imperfect because Sephiroth can't use him like he can use the others. But like, as you know, a copy that keeps like his individuality for, I would say, the most part, like that's, you know, that's a success. So and he's like, you know, he's very powerful. Cloud was very powerful. Like like we've seen him, you know, face against Roche and other people. Like he's like more than just the average typical soldier. He is like, you know, like a Sephiroth copy. Does he have like Genova powers like Sephiroth has? I don't think so. But as far as like the strength and like the endurance, the abilities, like, you know, the enhanced abilities, the superhuman shit, like, yeah, he has that. So yeah, moving on. Well, yeah, and this is all stuff I probably pretty much just all said. Yeah, there's like, yeah, I'm like, are they bringing back just parts of his body, or is it the cells too? And then maybe it's the cells too in this, because like the enemies are more tied into the story than they were. Like, you know, they really weren't an OG. Like all the random enemies, like all the random enemies have like lore. They're in story scenes. They have backstory. You know, like all the assesses and everything. Like the enemies are like ingrained into the story, which is crazy. It's like part one where there's like, you know, the ghosts in the train graveyard are like integrated, and Eligor is integrated, and the demon wall is now the guardian of the black materia and stuff like that. Is just like something that's like, you know, different from the OG, very expanded upon. And one of the coolest changes, I think, is like, you know, incorporating them into the actual story. But yeah, I think that's all from this. So I guess this is the last kind of stuff I'll talk about in this video, like considering like stuff I posted really. So I bring up that the OG did have a dream world, and it was conjured up by Aerith and invaded by Sephiroth, and this was the Sleeping Forest scene. This could have been taking place in Cloud's subconscious. It could have been, you know, some power Aerith was using to like pull him into, you know, some dream world. But like it happened in Remake, like when Cloud goes outside to talk at the flower bed outside Aerith's house with her in the dream sequence, and then the dream sequence in, you know, Rebirth as well. So dream worlds is not really a new concept, but I'm not going to say it's not presented differently in the re-trilogy, but it is definitely an existing concept that seems to be getting expanded upon. And I know, like, we all, all the stamps and everything, like, is this a MCU multiverse? First of all, like, get this out of the way. I don't think any of these worlds are physical in nature. There's like one physical world, and that is where, Cloud and the party are. And then there's the spiritual world, and it consists of, these dream worlds are in there somewhere within that live stream. And like one of the NPCs in Cosmo Canyon brings up that like souls have like, like hopes and dreams, and they like create little worlds and stuff like that. So this could, it could very well just be some kind of subconscious world, like similar to, I'll go back to this over here, similar to this in the OG, like Cloud's little subconscious world. And that same, funnily enough, that same crack in the sky that is in Zack's, or I should say all those dream worlds, is like in the background of right here. It's right here in the OG dream, or well, OG subconscious Cloud piecing back together live stream sequence. So that seems very intentional. So I'm like, let them cook. Obviously gotta let them cook because they're up to something. But yeah, like I think they are like, like I said, this is not something new. It is something that is expanded upon, but greatly expanded upon, obviously. But this subconscious world stuff, and they're talking about hopes and dreams, and yeah, like all this stuff is like leading towards something, but it is like it's connected to this stuff in some way. And no matter how differently it's like presented in this game and expanded upon, it's still a concept that is not out of the realm of OG and the lore that already exists. So that's another reason why you shouldn't, well, I say you shouldn't, but like I would say why I don't consider it a sequel is because everything that's presented I can basically explain away with lore that was already existing. I just would rather try to tie this to the already convoluted lore that's been built up over the years, rather than inserting some new like lore mechanism, like an MCU multiverse kind of thing. Like that just doesn't make sense. And I feel like with like the way the live stream functions and all that, they don't need that. And yeah, so like having dream worlds is not out of the realm, and like dreams are where the subconscious thrives the most. So that's why I interchange between calling them dream worlds and subconscious worlds. And Cloud has his own little subconscious world. Is this world in Rebirth that Zack is in? Is that Zack's subconscious? Is it Aerith's subconscious? Is it a something that's in Cloud's subconscious that like he has all these hopes and dreams or something? Or Aerith has her hopes and dreams and they're all manifesting within the live stream, and like they can't, like one of the NPCs said they can't differentiate like your hopes and dreams from actual reality. So like Sephiroth said, like these worlds come and go. So like it like eventually deciphers like, hey, this world isn't real, goodbye, kind of thing. And I also like at one point I thought like it was a purgatory where like Zack wasn't able to join the greater life stream until he accepted his fate. Like in every situation Zack like no matter what choice he makes, he winds up with a battalion of Shinra troopers in front of him, like ready to kill him the same way he died when he actually died in like Crisis Core, and during the flashback in the OG. So like I don't know exactly what it is, but I do know that it is in some way tied to subconscious. And yeah, like dreams and hopes and all, like subconscious is like things like you aren't actively thinking about, and like there's just so much that goes into subconscious. And Nojima's brought up like Jung's theory and stuff like that. Like there's, you know, there's a lot of things you can read into, and there's a lot of things within this game. Like there's things inspired from like Greek and Norse and Christianity, Kabbalism, and yeah, like this Jung theory now, but there's like, you know, there's other ideas, and they're all like meshed together, and they're not, like, none of them are like one-to-one with just one thing. It's like a whole mesh of these things, and they take little bits from here and little bits from there and like make their own unique spin on the world, and it's like really, really interesting. So I wouldn't put too much faith in like anything being one-to-one with any of the religions or ideas they're using or mythologies. It's just they take bits and pieces from these and make it their own kind of thing. So just keep that in mind. But like wherever this stuff is going, I'm not like, I don't know, but I'm like saying like I just have it narrowed down. I'm like, the sequel thing is like out of my mind. I'm not even like focusing on theories regarding that. Like now I'm focusing on this is a reimagining of the OG. This is the compilations version of OG 7. How does all this stuff tie together? How does it tie to things that are already established in the lore? Like I still have a ton of stuff to theorize, and I do not have all the answers, but I'm just, you know, trying to piece stuff together, try to think about where it's going. It's like, you know, the developers want us to do this stuff. Like it's fun to think about it. It's fun to think about where it could go, and it's a good feeling when you're like, oh, I was spot on about this, and then other times you're wrong, and you're either like, this sucks, or wow, that's even better than I thought it would be. I'm glad they did it this way instead of the way I, you know, which is like pretty much, I'm like, that was a lot of Rebirth for me, was like, wow, like this is way better than I thought that, you know, like things that any of us thought it could be. So I'm looking forward to more than that, and like anything I think that would be bad, I look forward to the developers proving me wrong. You know, anything I think that is going to happen, I hope I don't hope that I'm right. I hope it's like even better than I, like, you know, than the things I think, like they do it even better than the way I'm putting it. But it's just like I'm just like putting like basic stuff out there, like this is probably the outline of like how they're going to handle this stuff, and then like all the crazy stuff they do to make it that, like, you know, amazing. I never thought they could do it this way. That's like, you know, I'm going to be looking forward to that. And yeah, like I said, I'm not going to say I have all the answers. I still have plenty of theories to make around all this reimagining stuff, how it could go, and it's going to be a trip. It's going to be a trip all the way to part 3. So I mean, I have like a bunch of ideas. Like these are just the main ones that make the most sense to me. I feel like I've just narrowed things down. And like I said, maybe I'm wrong. Like I'm not going to sit here and tell you all like this is definitely what's happening. I'm just giving you all food for thought, some brain food, some stuff to chew on. You know, you guys should be asking plenty of questions. Like you got to ask the right questions. Like you know, I show with the red post with, is it our destiny to like defy destiny? You know, you should be asking like, how could this tie into the existing story? Like how, like, is this an expanded concept, or is this brand new and completely out of left field? How can this not be a sequel? You know, you gotta like, you have to ask the right questions. So and then that's like how I find most of my answers. I just like ask like all the questions I can possibly think of and try to like piece it all together. That's where it all starts for me when I'm looking for these answers. And yeah, I'll see if I have anything else. I don't think so, but maybe. Yeah, I think I covered the bases. Yeah, and I mean, I just go over here, like all this, you know, the subconscious stuff that's, you know, a mechanism for like all this stuff that's different, you know, like it's greatly expanded upon. And like, I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, a bunch of stamps existed and like Zack traveling through worlds and stuff existed in the OG. It did not, but this is like a way of like them like letting us get to play as Zack, which I mean, honestly, I thought it was going to be cringe fan service, and I was really worried about what they were going to do with Zack, but I wound up loving it. Like I said, he's in Cloud's headspace, attached to his consciousness. It's not like he's running around the real world and, like, you know, doing something ridiculous like that. Like, it actually lined up, made sense. So it was, you know, it was taking place in Cloud's little headspace, a mental battle. Him and Aerith got some more screen time, and it was awesome to play as Zack. Like, really fun. Can't wait to do the battle simulator stuff with him and Sephiroth. So yeah, there's just a bunch of stuff to look forward to in part 3. Like, you know, part 3's got a lot going for it. You know, they gotta explain all these mysteries and how all this stuff connects, you know, how things function, and, you know, there's a lot of places to go to in part 3. There's a lot of crazy scenes. You know, I think I even have, like, just before I head out, this list of places. Here, I'll do it like this. Or no, actually, all right, yeah, I was listening to some stuff. So, like, we got Fort Condor, Wutai, and the Wutai War going on with all that. Rocket Town, Underwater Reactor, Bone Village, Icicle Inn, Gaia Cliffs, Northern Crater, Medial, Ancient Forest, Crash Galnica, Lucrezia's Cave, Materia Caves, Underwater, Outer Space. I mean, we got the submarine, you know, we got the airship, and yeah, it's like, and like the weapon stuff going on, like, it's gonna be insanity in part 3. And as you know, the live stream sequence, like, so much stuff, like giving the Black Materia to Sephiroth, Meteor getting summoned, all like part 3 is set up to be the biggest and best part, in my opinion, like, easily. I mean, just on the fact alone, it like has the stuff from the OG that like those, that's the part of the game I love the most, is like pretty much after Aerith's death, like the start of Disc 2 and on. This is my favorite fucking parts of the game. So that is going to be amazing. I cannot wait for all that. And like, yeah, and like I say here, we're gonna have new towns, new areas. I mean, look at that, like, Shinra outpost that was in the Junon area. Like, that was just a completely new town just thrown in there. And like, they're gonna have, like, you know, Nojima said he wants to put like towns from the compilation as well into the, you know, into the world. So maybe, you know, we might see like Modeoheim or something like that, or even something from like Ever Crisis. Like, I don't think Radori is there anymore, but like maybe the island or something, and there's like ruins. Like, maybe even go to Benora and it's like ruins there, or maybe Shinra rebuilt it like they did for Nibelheim and Kam. So yeah, you never know. But like, yeah, they have like, there's going to be like all the stuff I'm like expecting from the OG that happened, and then there's going to be a ton of exciting new stuff that I have no fucking clue what's going to happen. And then like the stuff that does stay on track with the OG, it's still going to be like fresh and new, and they're going to, like, you know, enhance, expand on everything. Like, it is set up to be so good. And where it all ends, how they do the ending, you know, I'm not 100% sure. I do think it will be a happier, more conclusive ending than the OG, but I don't think it's going to be all sunshine and rainbows. And like, pretty sure that the developers have even like reiterated that, like, you know, we want, like, you know, some of the developers want like a happier ending, some of them want to like stay more ambiguous, but like, you know, it's probably gonna be a little happier, but it's not gonna be all sunshine and rainbows, is like the end message. So you know, I think it's like still gonna leave it so it can lead into Advent Children, but like, you know, they are gonna have some happy-ish ending in this one. And I think it might, you know, it might have something to do with like Cloud seeing Aerith and Zack again, probably in like the same way like Zack and Aerith walk out of the church at the end of Advent Children. It's probably going to be something similar to that, like, you know, you're okay and all that stuff until Advent Children happens. Then like, you know, then like Cloud has to go through that whole thing of like forgiving himself. But yeah, but I guess that's it for now. I'm, you know, sorry I'm off the cuff. This video was not edited, so sorry about the rambling, but I hope you guys got something out of this. Like, you know, I gave you some insight to where we might actually be going, and like it sounds like it's not bullshit. Because I mean, I feel like every you know, someone gives me like a sequel argument, I always have a counter to it, and it's like easy for me to come up with these counters. Like I barely have to think about this stuff at all, and like for them, they have to like kind of, you know, jumble through hoops and stuff to like make it make sense. And like, you know, I'm just sitting here like, this was in like the OG dog, like it's just expanded, or it is different, but it was there, and you know. So, but with all that said, thanks for stopping by. You guys can like and subscribe if you liked the video, dislike it if you didn't, but I will catch you guys next time. I'm sure we will be discussing more on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and what's coming soon in part 3 in the coming months and years, because it's going to be quite some time. But look forward to videos in the future on these topics, and I will see you guys later. Until then, Nostalgia Burst out. You guys have a good one. See ya.